So we will now move on in the program to the two projects, Shape ID and the Norwegian Shape Initiative. We have put these two projects in the same session, but I have to confess that the similarity in project names is actually a coincidence. Shape Idea is an acronym drawn from the full name Shaping Interdisciplinary Practices in Europe, and the abbreviation SHAPE, as it is used by the Norwegian initiative, which we will hear about soon, was coined first in the UK and stands for Social Sciences, Humanities and the Arts for People and the Economy. But as I hope you will agree, I think that the projects fit very well into the same session. So Doireann Wallace has been the project manager of Shape ID, the Shape ID Horizon 2020 projects at the Trinity Long Room Hub Arts and Humanities Research Institute at Trinity College Dublin since February 2019. Doireann holds a Master of Science in Technology and Learning from Trinity College Dublin and a PhD in Media from Dublin Institute of Technology. Doireann, thank you for joining us here today.
Thank you very much, Eric. Thank you for the invitation.
Could you please just briefly present the Shape ID project for our audience?
Sure. Well, Shape ID is a 2.5-year coordination and support action funded by the Horizon Europe programme. And its purpose is to address the challenge of improving SSH integration, as the Commission call it, or AHSS integration, as we call it, to prioritise also the arts and humanities. So we address several different stakeholder groups, funders and policymakers, individual researchers, research organizations, and to a somewhat lesser extent, but important, potential societal partners in civil society or industry. And we've essentially been trying to survey and review the field to understand best practice, what works and what doesn't. We've conducted extensive academic and policy literature reviews, a survey, some interviews with policymakers, and 6 stakeholder workshops across Europe with over 160 participants to learn from people's experience and what they know and try to pull together recommendations and ultimately our toolkit, which I'll talk about a little bit, I think, later, to basically help all of these different stakeholder groups on sort of pathways to improve how they do and support inter and transdisciplinary research with SSH integration.
Thank you. So you mentioned just briefly now the Shape ID toolkit. And you had your big launch of this toolkit now just a week ago, actually, exactly today, on the 10th of June, with a large number of participants from all over Europe. Could you please tell us a little bit more about what is the Shape ID toolkit and what is its purpose?
Sure, thanks. Yeah, so the toolkit is really the culmination of our 2.5 years' work. It's a web-based toolkit, and it is designed to help these groups I mentioned, researchers, research organizations, funders, policymakers, and societal partners to learn more about interdisciplinary research, but also to take concrete steps to improve how they do it or how they support it. So it's intended to be very practical. So its structure is essentially, we're a coordination and support action. So we start from the point of view that there's a lot of experience out there, a lot of existing recommendations, guides, reports, but there's fragmentation in the area. So the toolkit is structured around kind of curating a lot of resources around the topics that we found to be challenging or relevant to our stakeholder groups. So it gathers together a lot of these, a great point of access to these existing resources. We've also produced our own case studies, our own reflective tools, interviews with experts, and a series of guides that provide kind of quicker access to these. So it covers topics ranging from, how to better understand interdisciplinarity and transdisciplinarity, how to develop the skills you might need as a researcher to bridge disciplinary divides, how to develop an interdisciplinary career, for example, for early career researchers. And then for those outside of research, supporting research, guides about supporting, funding, and evaluating collaborative research.
So we have added the link to the Shape ID toolkit in the chat. So if anybody wants to check it out, they can use it. So is the toolkit open for everybody to use?
Absolutely, yes. It's an open web-based resource, and we hope everybody will use it, explore it, and tell us what they think. Give us feedback if they find it useful. We'd love to know how people are using it as well, now that we've produced it and launched it to the world.
I've been following the Shape ID project for a while, and I've seen that you focus quite heavily on stressing the role of arts and humanities. This is sometimes a little bit in contrast to the use of the sort of the SSH umbrella, where often you can see a more focus on harder social sciences. So what is your message to those in the audience representing the arts and humanities?
Well, it's true. Obviously, the SSH monitoring reports, which I think Tobias also mentioned, have revealed that there's a very, very low participation of the arts and humanities compared to many of the social sciences. So that's something we specifically set out to address in our workshop topics and in the kind of recommendations that we made, because there's also a gap in the literature. It's not as represented in the literature as the social science integration. But obviously, our argument, I suppose, is that we need these broader perspectives in order to really address the true complexity of complex societal challenges. We make sense of life through stories and symbols and meaning-making activity, and we need to acknowledge the importance of the social sciences and humanities in kind of being able to address these properly. So I think bringing in humanities and arts perspectives in problem framing for a start, and how we understand a problem before we go about trying to solve it is really, really important. In terms of kind of concrete sort of a message to the arts and humanities researchers, I would say that we should be confident as arts and humanities researchers that you really do have something to contribute. Even if you're kind of more accustomed to the mode of research, a kind of sole scholarship mode of research, it's worth really taking some time to reflect on how what your research can contribute and how you can communicate this so that you can reach out to colleagues in other disciplines and start to talk about areas where you might have common interest. And in other words, kind of be proactive about thinking about, reflecting about, and then opening out to how you position yourself as a potential collaborator in collaborative research. And I don't want to say that this is a path that everybody should take, but that it can be an interesting and a rewarding path to open out to contributing to and participating in research that addresses the societal challenges that you care about. So.
Okay, Doireann, thank you very much for this introduction to the Shape ID project and the Shape ID toolkit. I really hope that people in the audience will take a look at the toolkit using our link, and of course, as you said, feel free to get in touch with you also if they have if they have the intention of joining you in your effort. So thank you very much.